Happy Thursday and welcome to Dateline New Haven. This is Paul Bass inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our community tick. It's another edition of Headlines and Basslines. Latest headlines mostly from the New Haven Independent about local news, little commentary, and then songs inspired by these headlines. Take them to another level. Here's a headline from this week's Independent. Worker owner, in quotes, won't shut up for severance. The worker in question is Jisoo Shin. She's one of 6 people who work at Artists and Craftsmen, which is, among artists, a very popular store, one of 2 in town of art supplies like Hull's, that people count on for making art. Support New Haven. It's on Chapel Street. Kind of a beat block that's getting a makeover. It's got a historic half on one side and new apartments rising on the other between Orange and Church, a block from the Green. But the store is going out of business. People are kind of sad about that. It's got a clearance sale. Jisoo and I think some of her coworkers, though they didn't say for sure, were offered a severance agreement that they don't want to sign. It sounds nice. You can give people a month extra pay. They don't make tons of pay, a little more minimum wage. But they love working there, actually, and they think the people who run it locally are nice. But it's a national chain that calls itself an employee-owned company, and technically it is. You do get stock options, but you don't get your rights. In the severance document they were asked to sign, there were 2 clauses that caught Jisoo's eyes. I was so impressed. A young woman who was doing her homework and not just getting rolled over. It said you can't release any details of the severance agreement, and you can't say anything about the company negative if you're going to take some money. Whether or not you believe that a company should be able to do that, and I don't think you should hold, when you're not paying people a lot of money and then you're putting them out of work for nothing they did wrong, the idea that they should also have to give up rights in order to get a little bit of severance, to which they're certainly entitled after they put in all their time for years to help you run your company and take in revenues. Whether or not you agree with me on that, the National Labor Relations Board has ruled that you can't do that. So it'll have to be tested if the company, this worker-owned company, fights its own workers for asking them to follow the law. But Jisoo has said she's bringing her complaint to the NLRB. And again, the NLRB didn't make that change until the Democrat was elected president and appointed people who are pro-worker, even though Republicans claim they're pro-worker. And some of them are, but the last president appointed people who weren't, but this president did. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I salute, today we salute the workers at Artists and Craftsmen for not being bullied by their employer to give up their rights to do what the coasters enjoy doing on this song, which is yakety yak.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finished cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
You just put on your coat and hat and walk yourself to the laundromat. And when you finish doing that, bring in the dog and put out the cat. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Don't you give me no dirty looks. Your father's hip, he knows what cooks. Just tell your hoodlum from outside, you ain't got time to take a ride. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Yakety yak, yakety yak. Yakety yak, yakety yak.
Boy, that was back in the days when they did hits that were a minute and 43 seconds. Wow. The Coasters, Yakety Yak. And we're going to yakety yak all we want, even if corporate overlords are trying to squeeze every penny out of us and make us desperate to give up our rights otherwise. There's still a reason to be a person who has something to say and the freedom to say it. And we're saying it here on Headlines and Basslines, WNHH-FM, your home for community radio. It's Headlines and Basslines Day, and another headline from The Independent. Pro-Palestinian protesters crash governor's speech. Ned Lamont, the governor, was giving a speech at Southern. They had a banquet hall there where the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce was having their annual regional legislative outlook. So all sorts of lawmakers were there. The banquet hall was full. It was the morning. And besides business leaders, they had the state senators and representatives from around this area and the governor. The governor was giving a keynote speech. He got started and he said, Tweed New Haven Airport, the railways, New Haven's going great. And then all of a sudden, a dozen young protesters swept into the room. People who are calling for a ceasefire in the war in Gaza. And a woman they chanted, and then a woman yelled one guy was yelling. A woman called out to the governor and said, "We want you to demand a ceasefire." She's also upset that he signed a trade pact with, he went on a business mission to Israel to do some work with tech companies, which I think actually a lot of those people would agree with what the protesters were saying, but that's a different issue. And they didn't let Ned talk. So Ned said, "Okay, I hear you. Let's talk." And they said, "You're not going to talk. This isn't business as usual." And they yelled him down. So he gave up and walked to the side. They chanted for a little while. And then the protesters and the police did a good job of then having people leave the hall, letting the event resume. They chanted a little more outside and left. This is a new normal. Ned Lamont, when he ran for Senate in 2006, this first time most of the country heard of him, he was an anti-war candidate against the Iraq War. He said he thought the protesters had some points that were interesting to talk about. He also talked about the violence on the side of Hamas and against Israel. Complicated issue. It's an important issue. What struck me was that the day before that, a state legislator was telling me that he felt his colleagues need to understand that this is going to happen a lot. That the vocal people who are very upset about the war there and the millions of Gazans losing their lives are going to be showing up. And they're going to, even if legislators are local and don't really have anything to do with the war, they're going to be pressed to make comments on it. And when this is all done, it's so important now it's to discuss what's happening there. And it's so horrible. The loss of lives on both sides and the hatred by the leaders on both sides, not the people, but the hatred of the leaders. And it's difficult to see a good result, but I do know that pessimism is not necessarily always accurate. It's not true that the worst outcome always happens, even if we have trouble seeing how we can find our way to peace. But one thing that's true is that the people who fight the wars live with the impacts for years, sometimes forever. Not everybody, some go back to their lives. But it's something that seems to shake so many people, destroy a lot of lives, that they're the damage too. State Cleaves had a song I find very powerful about it. Played it here before. He called Still Fighting the War for a different conflict that the U.S. was involved in Afghanistan.
Hard times coming home now. Can't get your feet on the ground. Got some issues and no one wants you around. Barely sleeping and you can't get through to VA on the phone. No one's hiring and no one wants to give you a loan. And everyone else is carrying on just like they've always done before. You've been home for a couple of years now, buddy, but you're still fighting the war. Flashback to Fallujah, lost another best friend. 3 tours of duty and you're wondering when it's all gonna end. Bodies broken and bones shattered, blood and dust in your mouth. Getting weary but you're running with the few and the proud. Sometimes Sometimes you wonder why you went. You never wonder what you stayed on for. You've been home for a couple of years now, buddy, but you're still fighting the war. Men go off to war for 100 reasons. Why they all come home with the same demons. Some you can keep at bay for a while, some will pin you to the floor. You've been home for a couple of years now, buddy, but you're still fighting the war. The bedspread is fraying, faded and tearing apart. Two strangers holding each other in the dark. Tell me, what were you dreaming? How did you think it would end? How many heroes are scattered out into the wind? And all the happily ever afters turned to broken dishes and slamming doors. You've been home for a couple of years now, buddy, but you're still fighting the war.
Go off to fight for 100 reasons. They all come back with the same demons. Slade Cleave still fighting the war. Sad stuff. All right. And here we are at headlines and Basslines. Other headlines. People, partners, pets settle at X Hotel. It's a really good story. I recommend it. The Independent by Nora Grace Flood. She followed up when after the first headlines came out weeks ago that New Haven was trying another approach to helping people who are unhoused. That's the word we use now for people who are experiencing homelessness. There are a lot of them. It's growing. They're visible. Some don't want traditional forms of help. Some don't want to go to shelters. So the Days Inn on Fox and Boulevard, city bought it, converted into a 55 apartment facility for people who've been homeless to start trying to rebuild their lives, come and move in, have their own place rather than the shelter. They come with their pets, they come with their partner, and they'll have help on site to help them get their life straightened out. I hope it's a promising project. We want it to work. And we know that at some point there'll be headlines about a day that doesn't go well. These are people, whether the reasons, songs you heard before or other reasons, their lives hit the skids, and it's not like you snap your fingers and everything's fine now. Nora checked out how it's going after a few weeks. And one thing she found, which I kind of take heart in, is not all filled yet, even though there are plenty of people that are trying to do it right. The City High Continuum of Care is a nonprofit that also runs our program for non-police response to emergency calls when they're not involving violence, and Compass. So they're taking time to try to do it right. They got 15 people in after a few weeks. No complaints we're hearing yet. And Nora focused on a woman, Deborah Jimenez, who had been homeless, had a lot of things happen not good in her life. Since she's been in there, she's working on her degree. She's there. She's getting it together. She's looking for housing, getting help for that, and feeling better and feeling like she could take charge. She's looking for jobs. And we're hoping that, as Mahalia Jackson sang, more and more people at the Old Days Inn will be on their way.
I'm on my way to Canaan land. I'm on my way, oh, to Canaan land. On my way, Canaan land. Ooh, on my way, glory, hallelujah. I'm on my way. Well, I'm on my way to Canaan land. I'm on my way, oh, to Canaan land. On my way, Canaan land. On my way, glory, hallelujah. I'm on my way. on my way. I had a mighty hard time on my way. Mighty hard time, Lord, on my way. On my way, glory, hallelujah, on my way. Now if you don't go, don't you hinder me. If you won't go, please don't hinder me. If you won't go, don't hinder me. On my way, glory, hallelujah, on my way. I had to pray so hard, Lord, I'm on my way. I had to pray so hard, but I'm on my way. Had to pray so hard, on my way, on my way, glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. You know I'm falling and rising, but I'm on my way. You know I'm falling and rising, yes, I'm on my way. I'm falling and rising on my way. On my way, glory, hallelujah, I'm on my way. You know I'm on my way, Lord, oh, to Canaan land. Yes, I'm on my way, yeah, to Canaan land. On my way.
Mahalia Jackson's on her way, and so at least there's some of the people Nora Grace Flood met at the Farmer Days Inn turned homelessness transitional facility on Fox and Boulevard. Let's hope we're all on our way to someplace good. Headlines and Basslines, WNHH-FM. Looking behind the headlines of the local news from the New Haven Independent and turning on the music inspired by those stories. Here's a headline. Report come. Time to start closing schools. That was an interesting story by Maya McFadden about how the city's looking at how they're losing enrollment. Over a decade, they could see that continue. And they have a lot of schools in bad shape and too many schools. So they're suggesting that we start a process now, which the Board of Ed is starting, to close some schools, fix up others, and combine some classes. 3,100 fewer pre-K to 12 students are in schools today than there were 7 years ago. The projection is that another 1,740 will leave in the next decade. If those trends continue, it does make sense to close schools. Some of the commenters in the Independent were saying, don't be so sure about these trends. We've had a lot of immigration in New Haven. That's why it's primarily from Latin America. That's why now a plurality, soon to be a majority of public school students are Latino. Interesting fact. Very good news, because these are people coming from immigrant families, a lot of them, who really want to be here and are contributing a lot to our community. I thought the commenters had a good point. I'm not sure where I end on this. I'm not an expert on demographics. But it is true you could be caught there, and we've invested so much in these schools. I think close to $2 billion fixing up all our schools. And yeah, we can make some quick one-time money selling them, or we could use them for other purposes. But then we lose the flexibility, and we'll probably have ended up not having a financial benefit if we have to go out and start building a school again. Just a thought. Thought it was a fair point. Here's what's stuck in my craw. The fact that only 2 out of 43 existing schools are in good condition, folks. We just spent $2 billion. Okay, just. People old, like me are old, say just. Over the last 2 decades. We got almost all of it from the state, but not all of it. To build or rebuild all these schools. They're beautiful. They're palaces. I say hallelujah. That's great. We want kids to go to nice schools. But from day one, people said, are you going to keep them up? And from day one, we didn't. From day one, we had boilers breaking. Kids had to be sent home in bad weather because things weren't working in the building. The air was no good, which made it much harder to deal with COVID. So they're talking in some cases fine money for repairs. They're going to be catching up with the bad conditions. It's a shonda. It's a shame. It's a embarrassment that we don't invest like that. And the people involved said, well, we had to grab all that state money coming because we had to put so little of our own. It was a great investment. I get that. And that should have been up to the state to give us money to keep up the facilities. That suggests there is a free lunch. There's not. So I hope they do the maintenance because we want kids to have great schools. We want them to be able to breathe in them too and not shiver. So whatever comes, as Michelle Shock said in this song, will be too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Don't you tell me how it used to be. I seen the record and it clearly reads to date. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. Don't you talk about the way things was. Bringing roses and the turtle doves. Don't worry. Too little, too late. You know I should have known that it was now. Never but good things come to those who wait. When nothing came but the unraveled flowers, I said, honey, I'm taking the liberty to liberate myself. And now I'm taking the liberty to liberate myself. Too little, too late. Then was then, but honey, now is now. If I don't call it, you can just learn how to wait. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. Too late.
Too little, too late. Michelle Shock's 1989 album, Captain Swing. That was before New Haven spent billions of dollars rebuilding all its schools. And now, as Maya McFadden report, only 2 of the 43 schools are in good condition. Something to think about. On Headlines and Basslines, WNHH-FM 103.5, live streamed at newhavenindependent.org. Here's another 2 headlines that go together. CT, that's Connecticut, CT cannabis market reaches new high in December, comma, 274 million in sales for 2023. A lot of legal cannabis being sold in this state. Regulated, make sure it's safe, although it's very powerful compared to in our old fogies, old day. Another headline, story by Laura Gillespie. State sues smoke shop for alleged cannabis sales. Arethusa, it's a smoke shop, one of the 9,481 smoke shops in New Haven, give or take a few thousand. Turns out, surprise, surprise, Diana, not surprise, that smoke shops are selling cannabis even though they don't have licenses for it. As Josh Elliott, who led the charge for legalizing cannabis, said, it kind of was a mistake. It was a compromise. He felt he had to make to pass it. That we have so few people selling cannabis and we help some make a lot of money. The idea was originally to make sure that was people who were harmed by the drug war, but often it's these big conglomerates or people who were not harmed by the drug war. He felt, and this is funny that it always comes to progressives saying this, even though it's such a free market position, I share the view with him. Should have let everyone sell it, and regulate it, make sure it's safe. So in any case, of course, everyone's going to the smoke shop to buy something to smoke. And they're buying Thirsty Trap cannabis at this one place, which is legal. It's a cannabis flower. One of 7 smoke shops in the state that State Attorney General William Tong is suing for selling, allegedly, cannabis when they shouldn't be. You know, I do have a concern that there's a lot of unregulated drugs being sold. Kratom. There's a new, they call it liquid heroin or something at the gas stations, that it's addictive. Some of them are opioids, or some of them might have fentanyl, other stuff mixed in them. I know you say, oh, you're just being a square, fogey warning about dangers, but I think there's a reason to have rules. I don't think we should be having such strict rules about who can sell. I think everyone should be able to sell and let the best marketer, the hardest worker, the person who gets the best product win. But we don't want to poison people. We don't want to help some big companies get rich or some sleazy traffickers get rich poisoning people with bad drugs. With drugs that have crap in them that can make people sick or die. Sorry, I feel that way. And the coasters... Oh, I got to get the... I'm sorry. I just got to pull up a song on that one. We got another song from the Coasters that really can relate to Thirsty Trap cannabis, which is a flower that, in addition to getting you high, can make you sick. In that sense, you might as well call it some poison ivy.
She comes on like a rose, but everybody knows she'll get you in Dutch. Now you can look, but you better not touch. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Late at night while you're sleeping, poison ivy comes creeping around. She's pretty as a daisy, but look, I mean, she's crazy. She'll really do you in. Now if you let her get under your skin. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Late at night while you're sleeping, poison ivy comes creeping around. Bees will make you bump it, and mumps will make you lump it, and chicken pox will make you jump and twitch. A common cold will fool ya, and whooping cough will cool ya. But poison ivy, Lord, will make you itch. You're gonna need a lotion of calamine lotion. You'll be scratching like a hound the minute you start to mess around. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Late at night while you're sleeping, poison ivy comes creeping around. Bees will make you bump it, and mumps will make you lump it, and chicken pox will make you jump and twitch. A common cold will fool you, and whooping cough will cool you. But poison ivy, Lord, will make you itch. You're gonna need an ocean of calamine lotion. You'll be scratching like a hound the minute you start to mess around. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Poison ivy, yeah, yeah. Late at night while you're sleeping, poison ivy comes creeping around. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
You're going to need an ocean of calamine lotion or something else. Maybe Narcan, buying some of the poison ivy at the smoke shops in New Haven, according to the Attorney General. That was the Coasters on WNHH's Headlines and Basslines. Local headlines, good music, that in my opinion, that it's inspired by. Here's another headline. Thomas works to restore election trust. Thomas is Secretary of the State. Stephanie Thomas finished her first year. She came here for an interview. She's been here a couple times on the radio, talk about how she wants to work for elections you can believe in, elections you can trust. She got her big challenge with Bridgeport because yet again they caught these people allegedly harvesting absentee ballots illegally, getting big batches of them, picking them up from the campaign from people and depositing them in deposit bags. And big batches, so they doing do-over elections that's coming up in just a week after next in Bridgeport. So she tells us how she's sending down not one monitor but two in the clerk's office there to watch how people are handling the absentee ballots. And instead of just having legal experts there who know the law, there are also people who have physically done the work at the local level and the state level handling absentee ballots in the past, so they know how it works. She also said, and I agree with her, that her office doesn't do this. We need a better way to regulate, to crack down on people who cheat. Because the people who allegedly cheated in this Bridgeport election, 4 years ago, same person they caught on camera this time. Did it last time. Complaint brought to the agency, not Stephanie's agency, that polices this, the State Elections Enforcement Commission. And by the time they ruled on it, it was long past the election. It was over. Slapped the person on the wrist, so they went and did it again. Stephanie suggests that you have a 30 to 60 day window in which you got to rule on the stuff. I'm for her on that. She also says, I asked if that made her reconsider this idea that a lot of election reform advocates, especially Democrats, want to have universal absentee balloting, no excuses. Everyone just sends one to you. And I've always had doubts about that because what happened in Bridgeport, it's worse there, and there are a lot more absentees there. But it's happened here. Anytime I've done a story, I haven't done a lot of them where I go interview people who submitted absentee ballots, elderly people. They didn't know what really happened. Some person came from a campaign sign, they saw bring it back. A lot of times they were breaking the law. But in any case, it didn't feel like free elections to me. Didn't feel like kosher elections to me. Stephanie pointed out that well more than 99% of elections run smoothly. There isn't the fraud that people know of. They're not cheating. That changes an election. There are good arguments for this universal rule is that you get rid of people lying about why they're doing absentee ballots. If anyone could do it. Oh, I'm going to be away. Well, you're not going to be away. And if she feels the state perhaps could look at how some other states have done this, because we have a constitutional amendment coming to have this no excuses balloting. She feels more people vote, that's a good thing. Make it easier. We should always make it easier. And that you could have the state handle it, send out the ballots themselves, not distribute it through campaigns. I want to keep an open mind because I'm not an expert on this. I don't want to be reactionary, but I guess just my own experiences make me skeptical. Because you know what? When it comes to power and people seeking power, they might say they care about the rules, but they really care about the power. So if that does mean cheating or bending the rules, they're going to do it. I don't know if that's what Earth, Wind, and Fire was thinking when they did this song, but they hit it on the nail of the head. They hit the nail on the head. It's the way of the world.
Stay young at heart. 'Cause you'll never Hearts of fire, creates love desire. Take you higher and higher to the world you belong. Hearts of fire, love desire. Higher and higher, yeah. Hearts of fire, love desire. Came together on a special day. Send our message loud and clear. Looking back, we've touched no side for days. Future disappear. You will find someone. Hey, if you look way down in your heart and soul, I don't hesitate, 'cause the world seems cold. Stay young and hard, cold. You never, never, never. Yeah. That's the way down of the world. Yeah. Plant your flowers and you grow. Child is born. Listen now, with a heart of gold. Way of the world. Makes us whole. Don't you hear me now? Don't you hear me now? Won't you hear me now? Won't you hear me now? Hearts of fire, hearts of fire, love desire.
That's The Way of the World, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Boy, what a beautiful song. You know, the soaring arrangement with the vocals, variety in them, the bass, the kind of piquant guitar solos in between. That's a perfect song. I guess they probably were not thinking about absentee ballot fraud. I think they had a much more positive idea of the way of the world that I do share, which is that love is the way of the world here at Headlines and Basslines, WNHH-FM, local headlines, commentary, and music. Here's a headline. Fairhaven votes for garden beds. Now, people say, how can you write stories like that in the Independent? I think they're important, actually, just as important as taxes or crime. This is about Grand Acres in Fairhaven. It's a community garden. We have a lot of community gardens in New Haven. This is one of the really successful ones on Perkins and Grand. And the community management team, that's a community group in the neighborhood, they get some money from the city to do small amounts of projects to support that can have a big difference. So they voted $250 to help the organizers of Grand Acres build 7 new flower beds, 7 by 2 foot wooden boards. Do you know that one garden? It's not huge. A lot gets grown there, but it's just basically what used to be a house lot across from a school building. It's not going to be apartments. 44 people work that garden, volunteers. They produce 421 pounds of vegetables for the community. That's what they did last year. They go to the library. You can pick up your squashes, your beans, your cucumbers. They work together with Fairhaven Community Health Center to get people with diabetes or other health problems to eat healthy, grow their own food. They teach kids there how to work the land. I mean, what could be better than that? hook it tied to everything from health to community to, I mean, that just kind of says it all in my view. And the Afro-Semitic Experience has a new album out that made me think, I may have thought of it when I read the story, because the first song on it kind of describes what's happening in Fairhaven. The new album is called My Feet Began to Pray. And this song is Unity in the Community.
Why don't we come together? Why don't we come together? Why do we gotta fight? Why do we got to fight? Let's be like sis and brother who finally got it right. Let's face up each other. Black, brown, yellow, blue, white. Let's cherish all the color instead of spitting spite. Spitting spite. The highest we can be. Unity in the community. Go far as we can see. Unity in the community. Everybody sing it. Unity in the community. Unity in the community. Easy to feel the distance. Easy to chill your heart. We need to come together. We cannot pull apart. The sun may not be shining. The moon may not be bright. But when we join together, we're moving towards the light. The brightest we can see. Unity in the community. Shine so that we can see. Unity in the community. Everybody sing. Unity in the community. Unity.
Unity in the Community. We had an organization called that in New Haven years back. It's our aspiration, and we often find it. And one way we find unity is do great stuff like planting great grand acres, appreciating each other, community gardens. Another way is to fight back against predatory capitalists or companies, private companies that get the government to allow them to have a monopoly on stuff we need, like electricity or phone service. And they get to make all sorts of money without the competition or with very little competition and take advantage of people for the profit. I think that's totally bonkers, but in any case, Frontier used to be AT&T. They are one of the biggest villains in that utility world. And the Consumer Counsel's office, the state, is going after them. Headline, Consumer Counsel calls for investigation into Frontier service standards. They filed a petition with the regulator of utilities, Public Utilities Regulatory Authority, PURA, saying that since 2015, over and over again, Frontier just fails in every measure of what, in return for their ability to soak us for money for phone service and cable, they just never meet any standards for keeping people safe, for installing stuff right, for repairing stuff, for showing up when they're going to repair stuff, for fixing outages within 24 hours so that people can call if they need emergency help. They're seeking fines. And I hope they kick their butt. Matter of fact, I hope people wake up and stop giving these private companies free reign to soak us for stuff we need. I don't have publicly owned utilities. In any case, I do, though, think we have to appeal for help from the long distance operators the band sang with Bob Dylan on the Basement Tapes. Long Distance Operator. That's the band from the Basement Tapes. This is Paul Bass thanking you for listening to us today. Headlines and Basslines. WNHH-FM. Hope you have a great weekend. Martin Luther King weekend. A really great time to reflect and be inspired by the work he did and his amazing speeches you hear over and over again, but that just sound fresh each time and get you right to your bones, into your soul, and get you refreshed and ready to aim high as an individual and as a community, as a society. Babs Earls Ivy plans to play some of those speeches Monday morning from 9 to 11. On Tuesday, we're going to hear from the Afro-Semitic Experience in the studio, Warren Bird and David Shevin, the leaders, about their new album, some of which you heard on this show today. We're going to take it out with one of my two favorite classic tunes of theirs over the 25 years. The Afro-Semitic Experience, I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.